I'm the Director of Human Resources. Let's go meet the team.
Well, hi. My name is Jared Mayer. I handle all recruiting, onboarding, and terminating here in HR. And if you'd like to contact me with any questions, send your emails to hr@nsfm.com.
Hi, my name's Lori Moretz and I work in Human Resources. I handle benefits, leave of absence, safety and workers' comp, and also any ADP issues or questions that you may have. You can reach me at hr@nsfm.com or I can be reached at extension 110. Thank you. I look forward to working with you.
We're all here to help you be successful. And one of the ways of being successful is understanding employee management. Let's talk about the corrective action process. Today, we're going to be going over communication and documentation for the corrective actions and how to keep them positive and progressive. Corrective action utilizes communication and documentation, and it uses clear and concise goals and expectations. It should be progressive in nature, and documentation should escalate into two separate categories, one for attendance and the other category for performance and behaviors. And attendance can include unpaid time away, coming in late, leaving early, call-in procedures, and on the other hand, job performance, it could be things that haven't caught on since they're coaching and training or unacceptable behaviors, but we want to keep those on two separate tracks. Before we talk about corrective action, it's important to talk about training and coaching first. In order to set your team members up for success, training and coaching needs to take place either by yourself or your managers. Formal training should be documented, such as annual trainings of policies or job-specific trainings, or even monthly and bi-monthly trainings as far as food and people safety and other such toolbox trainings. Trainings start on the very first day of work or the back-to-school meeting with the HR orientation. Training the entire location, all training sign-in sheets should have three components to them. Your title and talking points at the top of the page, all employees' names listed below, and a space for them for their signature and date. This will make it very easy to see who missed the training and will need to train at another time. You're going to want to keep these records in your training folder. Coaching, on the other hand, this is a day-to-day function. One of the main actions needed in order to lead through coaching involves observations. Since you cannot be in all locations at the same time, you will want to teach your kitchen managers on how to coach as well. Make sure when you observe someone doing a job well done to say something. Positive accolades can go a very long way, and not only for that employee, but for those in earshot. When you see someone not performing as trained, take the time to show them the correct way or explain what they should be doing to increase their efficiencies. Telling someone how to speed up is more effective than just telling them to pick up the pace. These communications are verbal in nature. When you find yourself repeating the same coaching to the same team member again and again, it's time for formal corrective action. Coaching and corrective action documentation should be progressive in nature. We'd start with the verbal, then move to a first written, and then a second written. There are special circumstances, though, where we can skip a progression. The center of the form has three main sections. The first section, that's going to cite the policy or process or directive that needs to be corrected. The second section is going to contain positive goals and tasks for this employee to accomplish in order to be successful. And the third place is for the employee comments. All documentation needs acknowledgement that it was presented to the team member, signed by the employee, or if they refuse to sign, the witness would sign verifying that the employee refused to sign, but they did receive this information. So let's take a look at the form and how to fill it out. This form, as well as all other HR forms, can be found in the HR section of SharePoint. The folders are grouped to match up with the life cycle of a team member. The corrective action form is found in the folder number 6 called Attendance, Performance, Coaching, and Counseling. So let's take a look at the mechanics of filling out this form.
Now that you know where to find the document in SharePoint under Human Resources, let me show you how to fill it out properly. Let's take a look. Oddly enough, we're going to start filling out this form at the bottom. If we go to the bottom to this section that talks about the dates that you've had previous documentation, it's kind of going to show you where you are in the progression right now. So the first thing you're going to want to do is put the actual date of that first coaching or discussion. You're going to mark it with an X on what's already happened. So now that this has shown you what's already happened, you can see the next progression is the verbal corrective. You're not going to put that here because that's what this document actually is. This will just guide you in a way to what's the next progression. So we're going to go to the top and mark verbal corrective action, because as we have seen, that is what this is. Now you can fill in the top part with the personal information, their name, their date, what school you're in, and their title. Now let's get to the meat and potatoes of this form, 1, 2, and 3. 1 is going to be the actual occurrence, the observation that you saw that somebody's not living up to one of our policies, or somebody going against the training that you've already given, or maybe it's safety training that they're not following. Whatever it is, you know you've already trained them on it, and now they're still not catching on. So we're going to write down this observation. Now, a lot of times this comes out in a, Sally came in today, and when she walked in, she was really snippy with everybody, stirring the pot. Again, we do this all the time. Like that is what I would call drama. That's very good to document in an email to get the ball rolling, to figure out what we're going to do. You can hit print. That background drama will be helpful down the road, but not very helpful for this documentation. What you're going to do is pull out your handbook. What policy or procedure are they not following? And for HR stuff, almost everything is going to be on level 1 and level 2 offenses. Oh, discourteous towards the customer, not exhibiting teamwork behavior. Some of these would be very good bullet points to write down for talking points for that kind of behavior. So after you do those 2 bullet points, now you move on to section 2. Section 2 is not a spot where you reiterate what they did wrong. You've already observed what the actual behavior is that needs correcting. Now is the time for positive communication. What can they do positively? So if it's an attendance, you could say, show up for work on time. Next bullet point, stay for the entire shift. 3, when calling out, make sure you call out properly. Whatever infraction they did on the top one, you're going to want to show positive action. And in this case, the very first one is we're going to say you need to display teamwork behavior. That's in our handbook. It explains what teamwork is. The next bullet point could be must act professional at all times while at work or while dealing with the customer. And you can specify it to the actual situation, whether it's with coworkers. Now that we have this documented, we're going to hit print and put it away. Turn it upside down on your desk while you call the employee in for a conversation. Because after all, this is all about the communication.
Now it's time to prepare for the conversation. Sometimes awkward, but always necessary. If you need to practice, your manager or I would be happy to help with role play and to practice and get ready for the conversation. Effective communication is significant for anyone in a leadership role, especially when it comes to try to improve somebody's actions or behaviors. Keep in mind, when having conversations, we use verbal and nonverbal messages to create meanings in various contexts. This includes the tone that you're using, where the conversation is taking place, the words that you're using, and your body language. Communication promotes motivation. It's a source of information. It plays a crucial role in changing attitudes and behaviors, and also helps in team building. Sometimes there's a behavior or action that needs addressing right away. It is best to pull the employee aside and have a conversation on how to stop or change that behavior right away, and let them know that you'll be documenting this conversation at a later date. And you'll follow up with again later that shift or the next morning. So before you start the conversation, you're going to want to make sure you have your witness in the room. And this is a great time to really understand your talking points, which are going to be found in the second section of the corrective action. These are going to be actions that the employee will need to take in order to be successful. When you invite the employee into the room, you're going to want the document put away. There are many times when you present a document before the conversation, you have closed the door to really understanding what the issue is. So have the conversation. Or you may have already had the conversation and you're just letting them know that this is the documentation part of it. You're going to want to let them know that they have had some unacceptable behaviors or performances, and we're going to focus on some positive solutions. Go over those talking points in section 2 and reiterate how to be successful. You want to make sure that this documentation never progresses to the next level. And in this section, there could be trainings, actions to do, or actions not to do. After the conversation, let them know that this has been documented and now they can look over the documentation with you. Ask them to read it if they have any questions or concerns. Make sure it's what was communicated. There's a section 3 for employee comments, and they absolutely, and if they need to use the back of it, they have a chance to write down their side of what actually happened. If they refuse to sign, don't worry. You have a witness in the room that can sign because the employee refused to sign. They are witnessing the fact that you presented this information to the employee. Once the form is complete, go ahead and enter it into ADP under My Team, and in the section labeled Employment, you can go right to Disciplinary Actions and mark down whether it was a first, whether it was a verbal, second, with the date that you administered it. Then send a hard copy to hr@nsfm.com and we will place it in the personnel file. Make sure to observe your employees' actions in the following days and weeks to ensure that they are accomplishing what you've assigned for them, they are living up to the expectations, and when they are making improvements, make sure to let them know. But if they're not improving, you may need to have another conversation and progress this to the next level. And there you have it. That was today's training for communication and documentation for the corrective actions and how to keep it positive and progressive. As always, if you have any questions or concerns, please see your operations manager or myself and we will guide you in the right direction. And don't forget to take the evaluation for this presentation. There's a link to it on your virtual agenda. Thanks for joining us today.